Hello, everybody, and welcome to an episode of Dedic8te. Now, this is going to be on video, and we will only be doing the first 15 minutes of this episode. However, there is no paywall because one, why would we charge you for our nonsense? And two, you can listen to the full episode on Spotify and Amazon and Apple Music and whatever other streaming platforms there are. So if you want to listen to the full episode, please listen to us on Spotify. If you want to watch us visually for the first 15 minutes, you can do so on YouTube. Naoki, what are we talking about today?
Yeah, so today we have the little brother team of Los Angeles today, the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm kidding. It's the Clippers.
All right, bro.
We bring this topic up this team up due to obviously the acquisitions of Brook Lopez and Bradley Beal, but now most recently the point god himself, Chris Paul, 40-year-old Chris Paul, by the way.
Year 21, Chris Paul.
You know, if this team was built in 2016, maybe even 2017, this team would slap. But alas, no. But just to recap, last season, the 24-25 season for the Clippers, they finished 50-32, fifth place in the Western Conference, 18 games behind the number 1 seed OKC Thunder, and 2 games above the number 6 seed Dallas Mavericks, the defending Western Conference champs at the time. This marked their third consecutive playoff berth and their first season in the new Intuit Dome in Inglewood. But a first-round loss in a 7-game series against the Denver Nuggets exposed some injury concerns that, of course, we've been well aware of with this Clippers team probably since maybe 2019. Now, even before.
Probably.
Right?
Yeah.
Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, those teams. If you guys can remember all of that. Kawhi Leonard played 34 games, or missed 34 games, I should say, with some knee inflammation and played 2 playoff games, both of which were phenomenal.
Yep.
And it forced kind of James Harden to be really a front runner and a forefront of the Clippers offense, which had some mixed results in that playoff series against the Nuggets. Coach Tyronn Lue's system and new additions like a nice versatile defensive wing in Derrick Jones Jr. kept the team afloat and competitive, but some depth issues and inconsistent offense limited their ceiling, whilst also finishing pretty high up in the rankings for defensive rating.
Yep.
They were a phenomenal defensive team this year. Got some really good contributions out of Chris Dunn, out of guys like Amir Coffey, even, dare I say, Ben Simmons at times on the defensive end of the floor. If y'all forgot, I'm going to remind you right now, Ben Simmons is the Los Angeles Clippers. I will not let you guys forget that one. But they finished 115.7 in offensive rating, ranked 10th in the NBA, 112.3 defensive rating, which finished 12th, plus 3.4 net rating, which was 10th, 97.8 in pace, which is 20th in the NBA. They weren't a very run-and-gun team, especially when you have players like Kawhi Leonard and James Harden on your team. You're not expecting a whole lot of transition play.
Yep.
They finished with a 57.8% true shooting percentage, which was 8th in the NBA, so they were pretty efficient offense. A three-point attempt rate of 38.2%, which is 10th, and a 36.5 three-point field goal percentage, which was 12th. They were 22-14 in clutch games, but were outscored by 8 points in clutch moments during the Nuggets series. So it goes to show you that what normally happens in the regular season sometimes doesn't translate in a 7-game series, especially when you're facing the same team up to 7 times in a playoff series. There were 28-20 without Kawhi Leonard in 48 games with a plus 1.8 net rating, reflecting both depth but a drop from a plus 5.1 with Kawhi. So it goes to show that Kawhi Leonard still is an extremely impactful player when he is healthy in today's league. But that's the thing. When he is healthy and he is playing, you got an all-star year from James Harden, who averaged 16.6 points, 8.5 assists, 5 rebounds, 42.8% from the field, 38% from 3, 56% true shooting, and a 26.4% usage rate. It's not your typical James Harden all-star season, but it's an all-star season nonetheless for the Clippers, which I guess you'll take. And you had a true breakout year from Ivica Zubac, who kind of solidified himself in all-star conversations, top big man conversations in the NBA. So you'll kind of take that as well. Norman Powell, prior to being injured, was also in those conversations for the All-Star game. Derek Jones Jr. provided some good depth for you. Nick Batum was a good glue guy. This year was, I think, productivity wise better last year, the year prior. You got some good production out of Mohamed Bamba, who was traded midseason to Cleveland, and then obviously you had the 7-game series against the Nuggets to kind of cap it all off, and really goes to show the Clippers really showed some resilience in that Nuggets series, in my opinion. They really pushed that Nuggets team to their limit. It just ultimately the Nuggets had the best team, the best player, honestly, in the world, in Nikola Jokic, despite him really not having that much help in that series either. So that goes to show that was the Clippers season recap, brought to you by Naoki. But now we're gonna get into why they finished where they finished.
Oh yeah, okay. So the reason why they finished fifth. So we have Harden's 8.5 assists per game and 38% from the 3-point line. His shooting kept their offense afloat without Leonard, which was predominantly mostly through the season. Defensive identity. Tyronn Lue did turn these guys into defensive demons, I would say, with Derek Jones Jr. and Ivica Zubac, which also helped them maintain a top 12 defense despite Leonard's absence. Depth contributions as well, role players like Norman Powell. You have Nick Batum and Chris Dunn, who provided some versatility, which also helped them get to 50 wins this season. But the weaknesses were exposed, and that would be a lack of a secondary star, the post-Paul George off-season move, I would say, and Leonard's injury history, which of course has been a frequent occurrence ever since Toronto for some strange reason. And their offense ranked 22nd in half-court efficiency per Gleaning the Glass. So Naoki, I guess we could go to the next segment, which is what went wrong with this team, and then we can go to the off-season and see. But looking at the Clippers and the Nuggets series, it was difficult for me to look at James Harden and say that he is, as you know, that he can be a reliable second scoring option for this team, considering that he had actually a very good series, but Game 7, it seems like the historical occurrence that he just doesn't show up when it's required, and I'm actually really surprised that they re-signed him this offseason for the money that they gave him. Yeah,
I think if you're the Clippers, I mean, you kind of need. It's better than nothing, right? Like, you can't really rely on Kawhi Leonard, at this point. Not that you could really ever for him to stay healthy. I mean, Kawhi Leonard was phenomenal in the games that he did play.
He was
in the Nuggets series, and so with James Harden, he did enough to keep you afloat throughout the regular season. Obviously, was an all-star. Whether you guys think he deserved it or not, that's completely up to your discretion. But he did play extremely well, given where he's at in his career, given his age, given where the situation that he currently is at with the Clippers, and he's kind of forced to rally up quite frankly, a team of rejects, right?
Yeah.
Chris Dunn, Nick Batum, Ben Simmons. You know what I mean? Like these are plays that like the league has kind of tried to forget or have forgotten about, and he's kind of been forced to lead them to a playoff run, and then eventually lead them to a 7-game series loss to the Nuggets. Do I think he is capable of leading teams to deep playoff runs? No. There were question marks about that of him
10 years
in
ago.
the prime of his career when he was averaging 30 points per game and 12 assists a game and winning MVPs and putting up 60-point triple-doubles. There were question marks about that then. I think there's still question marks about it now. Can he be a secondary scorer? Yes. I want to see him in that role where he was in Brooklyn for a brief period, right, with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, where he was a lot of times like third, right, behind those two, and he leads. As much as you can harp on him about his foul baiting, his shot selection, his whatever he does off the court, his weight issues, whatever the case may be, dude makes other players better.
Yeah.
He elevates players through his distribution, through the way that he draws attention on the floor with the ball in his hands, and his ability to spray the ball or take the shot himself is undeniable. He's done that throughout his time in Houston. He did it in Brooklyn. He did it in Philly. Now he's doing it in LA. So I don't. It's hard because he was just an all-star. So for me, I think his best fit at this point of his career, and I don't think he has the ego to do so. I think he has a bit too much of a too big of an ego to do this, but to come off the bench,
Yeah.
be a six man for a uber contending team, like a team that's in that like championship or bust territory teams, your OKC Thunders, your Houston Rockets, and even out east, your New York Knicks, your Milwaukee Bucks, your Cleveland Cavaliers, along those lines, and lead second units, provide bench scoring. But of course, like I said, I don't think his ego would allow him to do that. But if he really is about winning, which I don't really think he is at this point of his career anymore, given the immense bag that he just secured, for what. But I don't know. It's just like, I don't want to get into this upcoming season quite yet because I know we're going to discuss it a bit later. But, given the moves that they had just made surrounding him, Chris Paul, Bradley Beal, Brook Lopez, these guys, veteran, big veteran guys, that's not a look to the future moves.
Yeah.
These are, we need to win right now with these guys, and signing even more rejects and Brook Lopez and Bradley Beal and Chris Paul.
I mean, I look at the playoff exit, which in particular was kind of eye-opening.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Leonard gets injured.
Yep.
Right? He gets injured. He plays limited to 2 playoff games. He shot 38% from the field, tanked the offense.
Yeah.
108.6 offensive rating, which was 18th. Denver exploited this and outscored them by 12 in clutch moments.
He played all 7 games in the Clippers series.
He did?
Mm-hmm. He played 2 games a year prior.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. And again, Harden didn't play great. He had some games where he was good, but it just seemed like there was this. Is it odd to say that Zubac was their best player?
In that series, it's really not insane to say, given that he has the Jokic assignment defensively, and he really, it's weird to say that he held his own because
Well, he did the best that he could.
You can only do your best against a guy like Nikola Jokic, no matter who you are.
Yeah.
Right? You could be Hakeem Olajuwon, Bill Russell, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Will Chamberlain, Shaq, and you can really only do your best against a guy like Nikola Jokic. We saw him giving Anthony Davis hell, in consecutive seasons in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And we consider Anthony Davis one of the best defensive players of all time, right? And so it's not really that crazy to see Ivica Zubac was the best player because he took the assignment to guard Jokic on one end, and then it was also asked to be the tertiary, if not at times secondary, scoring option in the half court for the Clippers in a lot of those possessions. Kawhi Leonard, again, was phenomenal, but also James Harden, it can be a little.
Yeah.
We know a lot about James Harden's inconsistencies on the offensive end. When you're a guy like Ivica Zubac, when all of your when most of your scoring output is from within 10 feet from the rim, you kind of expect it to be efficient, and he genuinely was. And I think that's a good sign of things to come. I think that's a good player to have with James Harden, a guy that can catch lobs and rebound at an elite level, but also, if you really need to, hand it to him in the low post and, get some touches away from a James Harden so you're not exhausting him every single possession, bringing the ball up the floor, generating the offense. Sometimes you just give Zubac a couple post touches, and that's good enough too, So
Yeah.
that really is not that crazy to say.